Kwanzaa, what you gon' do? Spend it with my family, chill with the crew. We gon' share gifts, you don't have to spend loot. We celebrate culture, our African root.
You will know your purpose. Everything in life truly has its purpose. Learn this and grow wise.
Welcome to night 5 of Kwanzaa.
Habari Gani, what's the news? December the 29th. Today's principle is Nia, purpose. We light the green candle. Nia means to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness.
Habari Gani.
Nia means purpose. I believe one of our guests might know a little bit more about what Nia means. Do you want to share?
Sure. Nia, as defined by Maulana Karinga, is to build and to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to our traditional greatness.
That was so perfect.
Definitely. And as a Black woman, I definitely feel it's important to stay connected to my purpose. This is what keeps me grounded and essentially sustained for all the things that I'm doing in the community.
I agree in all that I do. I am sure to contribute to spaces for Black people and help create and build spaces for us where there are none.
For sure. And tonight we have two very special guests. One of our guests is Traci, Mama Traci Brooks of Earth Mother Healing. Can you give us a brief bio of you and your business?
Yes. So I am Traci Brooks. I am the owner and founder of Earth Mother Healing, which is a new business which focuses on the holistic healing of our people through, and I say African people. And when I say African, I mean whether you are African American, African from the continent, African from the Caribbean. Restoring that through 3 main services, one of which is Reiki, which is a healing energy through touch. The second is through a holistic doula services, where I am assisting Black mothers. We have a very high maternal morbidity rate, and so this is to help with assisting the mothers during the pregnancy, during the delivery, and thereafter, so that there is a balance in their health state and as well as the infant that they are giving birth to. And then the third aspect of Earth Mother Healing is dealing with African women. And that is helping a lot of the women. I'm finding that more and more of us are challenged with understanding who we are, understanding what we're supposed to be doing here on this earth, Nia purpose, and then trying to navigate our way through the world as the women that we were brought on earth to be. And we all know what it's like being in the society. And so as Earth Mother Healing, I have a program entitled Stepping into Womanhood. The namesake of it is a book that I wrote many years ago, but the program now assists young women and older women with either stepping into their womanhood or stepping through their womanhood, and I add with a confident stride.
Ooh. I need to have a bunch of conversations with you.
I know.
Oh, goodness.
That was definitely very deep.
Right.
I agree with you. And our second guest is Shokare Nakpodia. He is the owner of Mighty Group and founder of DreamWeek, but we like to call him Sho. For short, if you're his friend. Sho, do you want to give us a brief bio of you, your business, and I essentially would like to know, in your own words, what you think Nia means or purpose to you.
Oh, wow. First of all, I'm so happy to be here. I love what you guys do, your podcast, and I finally get to meet Traci as well. Mama Traci.
Mama Traci.
Love it, love it, love it. Papa Show from now on.
All right.
So I founded the Mighty Group, which is a communication advertising agency, in 2002, and I've done a lot of work for community empowerment within San Antonio. And about 2010, I really wanted to do something a little bit more constructive directly for the community. And so we started to work on a project called DreamWeek, And DreamWeek is essentially getting as many people in the community to allow their voices be heard. So DreamWeek is an environment for civil and civic engagements, and where we believe that the truest voice is always going to triumph. So just allow everyone, give everyone the opportunity to present themselves. So I've been very fortunate in all those years. I know the people behind the camera. I know one of our hosts here has been directly involved in DreamWeek, thank you. And I hope that both of you will be in the future as well. But talking about purpose, that's all we're doing. Every single person in this room is actually doing something directly constructive and helping us achieve that sense of purpose that we have to ultimately be part of to have a thriving and really robust community. It's very, very important to have each person know their roles, but to know your place within the community, you also have to have a really good sense of self, and that is so important. And so education in the initial bit is just to find out what is available in the society and what's available in the community, and the next level is to find what your role within that and your talent is, and hopefully the community will accept that talent even if it's kind of very rare. So the MLKs of this world were very rare individuals, and if we did not accept what they had to present to us, we would be, poorer for it. So thankfully, we are open to, accepting people's purpose and making sure that they are celebrated as well.
No, most definitely. Honestly, I think that leads us into probably our first question. We'll ask this of you, Mama Traci. How did you find your purpose?
And what was that journey like for you?
That's a long story, so I'll just condense it. So I'll first say that I believe that all of us are packaged up and sent to earth with purpose and mission. The challenge for us is to get connected to that purpose, because I believe once we get here, we get disconnected from it if we are not raised in a community that directs us towards that purpose, extracts that genius within us, and then allows us to walk in community in that way. Traditionally, in the African communities, we have rites of passage. Well, here in America, we just kind of fall into our adulthood. We say we're adults when we're 18 and so forth. As I came into my purpose, most of it came just from learning my history. Learning history about African people awakened me. I'm 5'5.5". But when I began to learn my history, when I entered college many years ago, I felt like I was 7 feet tall. And the more I learned about the history, the more I came to understand that I was here to help my people. Now, uncovering how I was going to do that, that was life. Life began to open doors for me and introduce me to people and experiences and circumstances. And then eventually, I came to understand why I'm here. And I believe that I'm here to help our people heal in some kind of way. So that's how, in a nutshell.
Thanks for that.
Right.
In a nutshell.
So same question for you. How did you find your purpose, and what did that journey kind of look like?
It's always unfair to go after Mama Traci here, but because I just enjoy listening to you talk about those things. It's very genuine, and you can tell that you actually understand exactly what your purpose is.
Peaceful.
Yeah, peaceful, yeah.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so well, in my own case, it's a little bit more violent. And I had to struggle within myself to find out exactly what I needed to do. And but ultimately, I think you have to recognize what your talents are first. I think that's so important to recognize that. And sometimes, you struggle. One struggles. The struggle really is between identifying what people want of you and making a distinction between what you feel that you are willing to give out. So there are things out there that one can do that can make one wealthier or richer in terms of monetary terms, but they may not be things that you actually want to do. And people might think you're successful. So it's important to understand the things that actually brings you peace and joy. In my own case, it's getting people together. I figured that out, that I enjoy having people together And I love to listen to people coming up with new ideas or doing different things or just celebrating each other. And I love to watch it. So I'll be the perfect fly on the wall if I can live the rest of my life just watching people enjoying themselves. I'll be perfect in that sense. So that's my purpose then is to try and get people together so I can celebrate them. And it's sometimes being purposeful doesn't mean that one has to work very hard. One just has to be themselves and engage in that with that talent they have. So in the end, you know, people describe you in some sort of fashion, and you have to start to accept those things as what your qualities are. So I don't think I'm successful. A lot of people think I am. I do not feel that way. But I have to accept it for what it is, that there are things that they see of me that I don't necessarily of myself. And I have to start to make sure that I give people a lot more of what that thing that they care for is. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Right. That's my purpose.
So what I hear is, if I was to give the perfect advice for maybe a young person or someone like myself, is history and knowing the talent that you want to give to their...
No imitation, don't copy, don't try. You know, role model, yes.
Authenticity.
Yes, be very, very true to yourself.
Nice.
It's very important. And sometimes it appears as if one is not doing work. But true talent and true is a grace. You have to accept your own grace. It's the most difficult thing to accept. Than what your grace is.
So how do you feel like how does your purpose help our community? I know you kind of briefly. But...
No, that's a loaded question.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because it's not for me to say what I'm here to do. I believe that you will attract those people that are in need of what you offer. I believe that those that are ready for a spiritual healing, they find me. Those people that are looking for some kind of educational healing because we've been miseducated, they find me. There's an African proverb that says that when the student is ready, then the teacher appears. And I've been a teacher for 20 years, actually. And so now it is a matter of me just really humbling myself to be a vessel to help those that would seek me out, really. And in doing so, in that healing, because we have a very broken community, a lot of us don't know who we are. We're struggling with that. We're struggling with mimicking someone else, as you said, and not just being comfortable in the skin that we're in. And so that whole healing process now allows us to be better people to ourselves. It allows us to be better people in our own families. And then as we're healed, we can get in community and we can learn to respect one another, work with one another with dignity and self-respect. So I always tell people, you don't go in any location and tell people, I demand that you respect me. You respect me. You know, we don't do that. We respect ourselves, and people will naturally respect us because we're teaching them how to treat us by the way we treat ourselves.
So again, starts with.
I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, girl, I'm learning a lot. You could just keep talking all day.
Awesome.
I'm sorry.
Awesome. And that's one of the magical things about San Antonio, about community, about purpose, about giving yourself as as a kind of be open to new ideas and new voices. You get to meet and enjoy company like this. So my morning is brilliant now because I've met Momma, Traci.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Look at us, we connecting people too.
That's the way it should be. And actually, we have never met before.
No, sir.
But I watched your podcast. I didn't recognize.
You didn't realize it was me.
But I'm going to be a huge fan after today.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you. That's beautiful, humbling, for sure.
So I guess since the it's Nia, right? Purpose, right? So I guess for me, I turned 30 this year, and I feel like this year was like a awakening year for me. I feel like for a lot of us. And when you said history, that definitely I could relate to it because this year was the year that I finally started learning the truth about our people and you know, in school we only learn that version of history.
Absolutely.
And so it kind of just opened my eyes. But I feel like, I know that you said talent, and I feel like it's like a really good combination of two things to find our purpose. But what would be some other advice for people who, like myself, is kind of like just learning the world? I know me and you have conversations when you said that you went through what you went through, and it took years to get to where you are. I'm still on that journey. So what kind of, I guess, advice would you give to the younger people who are trying to find that purpose, or maybe finding that purpose and don't know which road to take? Because I have all these different things I want to do, but I'm like, what is Shalonda supposed to do specifically?
So I'm going to let you start this time.
That's the only way I'm going to get ahead. But, well, first of all, you guys, you're doing, the fact that you're asking that question says that you are already, you know, seeking answers. And as Mama Traci mentioned, you know, the teacher will show up, right? Because you're already on the quest. So it's important. 30 is old. Right?
30 is old?
Yeah.
Did you just call me old?
In this country, you know, it's considered mature and old, but spiritually, you're like a little baby, you know, in that sense, you know. So you shouldn't really be too hard on yourself. But it's very important to note that you can stay and working a job or a factory or one of those jobs and do the same thing every day and not really grow as much as somebody who just spend a week traveling around and walking around and meeting people. So the experiences that you have right now is the time to really start to make sure that you keep, you know, just making sure that your comfort zone, you're trying to extend that zone. And, you know, I was always very surprised. When I first arrived in San Antonio, I was surprised that many people, for example, hadn't been to the Cava or hadn't been to the Guadalupe or hadn't been to the Pearl. Or haven't been here. A lot of San Antonians haven't been to the Whitty Museum, right? And so those are the kind of things that you sort of, life, the environment, one is shortchanged by the environment if you don't really let yourself out. So you are not just this body, it's all the experiences around you that also make you a robust being, right? So it's, when I was 30, I'd been to, you know, been to Europe, I'd been to Africa, I'd been here, and, you know, you start to learn how little you really know about the world, that is such a vast thing, and the appreciation for different people. So the very first thing to say, I will say, is travel as much as you can, get to meet different people. Don't allow anybody go past you on a day-to-day basis without, if the opportunity arises, and don't make sure you're safe, of course, but try to have a connection and find a divinity in every single person that you meet. I think that's really what.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Ooh, I love that.
I'm getting chills, y'all.
Show.
I told you how to go
done
first.
it.
Yeah,
She's always
like, you
doing
think
it.
of this.
Thank you.
I'm just kidding.
Very nice, very nice.
Yes.
So I'm going to veggie back on that. You know, most people say piggyback, but I'm vegetarian.
Veggie.
So I'm going to veggie back on that.
I love it.
And say that I'm going to veggie back on a spiritual aspect of what you said as far as traveling. And I think that it's very important that we travel within. I believe that we are very distracted from day to day with our phones, with the social media, with things to do. Even in the pandemic, people refuse to sit home because we're running from ourselves. And so there's another proverb that says that when you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And so as we sit down with self, then we begin to become in tune with the creative energy, the creator. And we begin to get those whispers in our ears about what it is that we're here to do. And when I said studying our history, I think it's also very important that we study our personal history. So we're not just studying the history books, but we're studying our family history. You know, who are we? Whose are we? Where are we from? What is our family lineage? So with our enslavement, of course, it can be kind of short,
Right.
going back. But we need to talk about that. You know, who are we? And as we go within, we can come out. So along with that, I would say that it's very important to study the history. I also say that we should somehow involve ourselves in community, in some kind of volunteer aspect, giving of ourselves. Because when we give of ourselves, we come to know ourselves. You know, because now we're just stripping all those things away. We're not doing anything for money. We're not doing anything for attention or accolades, but we're just humbling ourselves to give to another. And in particular, since we're talking about Kwanzaa, I'm speaking more in our community, in the Black community. Find a place. Because when you're in community, a person is a person because of other people. A person is a person because of other people. So when you're around other people, that's how you become who you are. You make me who I am because you hold me responsible. You hold me accountable. You get to see me when I'm not keeping my word, if that's the case. If I don't show up on time, if I'm not respectful, if I'm not kind or thoughtful, and then you say, excuse me, Mama Traci, I thought you said, excuse me, Mama Traci, I felt a kind of way about this. Or you can say, Mama Traci, I really appreciate that you appreciate me. I thank you for the respect that you give me. I thank you for the space that you give me to be me. So I would say that. And then lastly, I would say that I think it's very important. You said 30 is old, but yet it's a baby. So I would say to find some elders to be with. As they say, sitting at the feet of the elders. And I wanted to say that I give so much thanks for the teacher and instructor and elder and friend that I had, James Phil Johnson, who just was like a mother and a father and a friend and a guide and an instructor for me, and helped me and helped to call out who I am. He called me Earth Mother. This is why I have the business called Earth Mother Healing. He called me Earth Mother. A person is a person because of other people. And so just traveling within, studying, giving of oneself, and then as the people used to tell us when we were young, go sit down somewhere, right? Go somewhere and sit down. And that just means to sit quietly. Take some time out each day and just sit down somewhere with yourself. And then coming to sit with self, you come to know thyself. And then in knowing yourself, now you can begin to tap into your talents, your gifts, your purpose, your divine self. And when we see ourselves as divine creations, then we can see others as divine creations. As you said, finding the divinity in others.
In other people.
But if we don't see ourselves as divine, and everybody else
See it in others.
is same thing.
So first and
Well,
foremost, I feel like I needed a notepad because she said so many quotes and
Yeah.
things that I was so good. I want to write. I'm a quotes person. So like being Mary Jane, I'm for real her in real life. Like I love her. But
I mean, allowing her go after me didn't make a difference.
Didn't matter. Yes. Still
No, we're doing great things together.
We are.
Yes,
I can tell.
you are.
You like my
No,
sister.
this is beautiful. Beautiful
I can tell
advice
already.
to our viewers.
I think we're going to have Earth Mother and Earth Father. Kind of
Earth Father it is.
That's
I like Papa Show sounded good.
it's already played.
So where can we find you guys
yes.
on social media before we wrap up?
So I am at Earth Mother Healing. So first of all, I'm at earthmother.com, and mother is spelled Mutther. My father used to call me Mutt, Mutt. So Earth Mother is Earth Mother, Mutther, Healing. I'm on Instagram at Earth Mother Healing as well.
Wow. Awesome. So, well, you can find me Google, I imagine.
Google me.
Google me. Well, it's DreamWeek.org and the Mighty Group. DreamWeek next year takes place from the 14th to the 24th of January, and we welcome everyone, and it's going to be mostly virtual. So before I leave, I'm going to try and commit every single person in this room to be part of it as well next year. Hopefully you ladies would have your wonderful podcast at the event. One of the things I want to say very, very quickly though, because I'm the only African-born person in this room, I think, right, is the distinction that people are placing between people who were born here as African Americans and immigrants like me, and this idea of being black, and it's something that I've always talked about, and I think is very important to really push, is that we have to learn that even though we're considered just Africans, African Americans, black, one group that just as you have, the Swedes and you have the Germans and you have the English and you have all these different groups in Europe and who are considered Europeans and white, we have those kind of groups in Africa as well. And some of them are very distinct groups. So the very fact that someone is from Nigeria doesn't make them one. There's so many groups within that as well who have very, very different ways of viewing the world, who have different cultures that may seem very similar to someone who's very far away, but I can actually tell what, most likely I can tell what an Igbo person looks like, what a Yoruba person looks like. My parents grew about 60 miles apart from each other and spoke 2 different languages. So from here to Austin, you might go through, in my country, 4 different languages. So the idea of being black is one of the biggest lies, I think, is that this idea of black being one thing. It could be one thing here because of the struggles in America, and it's important to understand that people just see skin color. But within that, it's incredible diverse group of people, talents, cultures, divinities. There's all kinds of things going on in Africa. So the story of Africa has never really been told properly yet. And it's very important. No. So we just need to be aware of that, and that's why Kwanzaa, I think, at least at some level, is an introduction to that vast, encyclopedia of what Africa really is, and we still haven't even started. But we're going to work together.
Absolutely. We're on the chase.
We're on the chase.
For sure.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And Asante Sana.
Thank you all.
Thank you all for being with us for our celebration this evening. And
thank you,
we'll
Shamika.
See you next time.
Thank you, Shamika.
The name of the tree. Once there was a terrible drought in the land of the animals. A kindly king came from over the mountain and planted a special tree. He told them that this tree would bear fruit all year round in any kind of weather. All they had to do was to speak its name. The name of the tree was Wangalima. The animals thanked the kind old king, and he returned to his own land, which was far over the mountain. The animals then sounded the great drum to call everyone for miles around. When all were gathered at the tree, the lion asked Anansi to speak the name of the tree. I thought you were going to remember the name, said Anansi. I don't remember the name, said the lion. Someone must know it. They asked everyone who had been there when the old king planted the tree, but not one of them could remember the name of the tree. They decided to send someone to ask the king for the name. They were all very hungry, so they decided to send someone fast. They sent the hare. The hare ran as fast as he could through villages, across the river, through the bush, over the mountain, and straight to the court of the kindly old king. The king told him, the name of the tree is Uwangalima. The hare ran back, repeating the name to himself as he went along. On the way home, he stopped at the river to rest and take a drink. The water was nice and cool. It felt good after all that running. The hare splashed around for a while to cool himself off. Then he got out of the water and started back to the tree. When he got back, all of the animals cheered. Now we can have the fruit, they shouted. Hare went up to the tree and to speak the name. Umagu, no, Umpa Numagupa? Try as he might, the hare just couldn't remember the name. We have to send someone, the lion said. So the springbok was sent. She ran all the way to the king, over to the mountain, and tried to keep the name in her head all the way home. But coming through the forest, she tripped over a root and bumped her head. Guess what? The name was lost again. Next, they sent Leopard, but on the way back, he started chasing a monkey who was teasing him. He forgot the name as well. Those monkeys. Many others tried and failed until finally the tortoise asked if she might go. Most of the animals laughed because the tortoise is so slow. Give her a chance, Anansi said. She may succeed where the rest of us have failed. The tortoise went to her mother and asked, what do you do if you must remember something very important? Her mother told her to keep repeating it no matter what happens. So the tortoise set out on her journey. When she reached the king over the mountain, he said, the name of the tree is Uwangalima. Tortoise kept repeating it over and over to herself all the way home. When the monkeys teased her in the forest, she only said, Uwangalima. When she passed by the river and the sound of the water made her thirsty, she looked at the water and said, Uwangalima. When she got near her house and her children came running to her, she only said, Uwangalima. Finally, the tortoise came to the tree. All the other animals were anxiously waiting. The lion spoke, Tortoise, please speak the name of the tree. Tortoise said, Uwangalima. At last, the animals were able to eat the fruit. Everyone was grateful to the tortoise who kept to her purpose where everyone else had simply failed. Nia, purpose.
The principle of Nia, or purpose, means to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. The awesome life of Claude W. Black Jr. offers a lesson in Nia. As a young man and recent Morehouse graduate, Claude Black Jr. struggled with direction and goals. His family could not send him to medical school where he had hoped to use his degree in biology and minor in chemistry. What was he to do if he was not going to medical school or had to wait for a teaching position to open up? He needed to make his own way. When his cousin offered him a job selling insurance for Atlanta Life, he headed to Marshall, Texas. He sold insurance house to house on foot. It was an encounter with the sweetest family, as he called them, that would shape his direction. He stopped in to collect a premium. Framed on the wall was a placard that read, God is the head of this house. The family attended worship at a church nearby. The father was a man who worked hard. His nicest clothes were hobnailed boots and overalls. There were 4 children, but the simple house was clean and neat. He could see an old iron bed with a dip in the mattress in the bedroom. The wife had taken flour and sugar sacks and sewn them together to make a bedspread. The floor was mopped with wash water that she used to boil their clothes. The lye in it bleached the wooden floorboards white. He could see cracks between the boards, and underneath the house, chickens ate crumbs that fell through. Everybody was happy in this house. When he came, they invited him inside to sit down and made him feel welcomed in their home. Want a piece of cake, the wife would ask. She always saved a slice just for him. They loved their children. As their insurance man, he knew the family income was limited. Their life was simple, yet they were happy together. He pondered this. Here was he, privileged to be a college graduate, but disgusted with life. And here were these people living from day to day, yet they were happy. How are people able to handle these conditions and still find satisfaction with life? What is it about being a servant of God, being a member of a church, or being a religious person that helps people to survive the harshness of life? He decided he needed to learn more about this God thing. As he examined the role of the church, He saw that the church was not doing enough to meet the needs of this family. Their economic needs could be met if the church took greater interest in those economic needs. The church ought to do something more than hold services. He also took stock of the lack of meaning in his own life. Claude Black was pretty sure that he shocked his parents when he announced he was going to seminary. He had come to the conclusion that there should be a relationship between religion and quality of life issues. Religion ought to have a bearing on overcoming the problems of poverty and the conditions depriving people of their human rights. He saw the church as having welfare possibilities. With the church as an economic generator, methods for feeding people, helping people with financial difficulties, and lifting people up could be developed. That, to him, was what the church ought to do. Claude Black was beginning to recognize that meaning in his own life was to be found in the relationship he had with others, and especially in how he helped them.
All right, so we've reached the end of our program. Don't be sad because we're coming back tomorrow.
And remember, San Antonio, stay masked up.
Check. On December 26th, goodbye Saint Nick. I light a black candle. Look, ooh, it's lit. First day of Kwanzaa. Umoja means unity. Ain't messing with my clique. Melanated, check the drip.
Self-determination is the mantra. Constant elevation like the Haitians when they conquered their colonizers. Like a real life Wakanda, true believers.